Welcome back to another episode of Boardsi Leadership Talks, where we explore the minds of today's top innovators and executives. I'm your host, Martin Rowinski, CEO of Boardsi, and today I'm thrilled to sit down with a pioneer at the intersection of immersive technology and AI, Nathan Pettyjohn. Nathan is the CEO of the Immersed Group and President of the VRAR Association and the Applied AI Association. With nearly 2 decades of experience spanning mobile tech, XR, and AI, he's helped build ecosystems, grow global conferences like Immerse Global Summit, and advise some of the most exciting emerging technology companies in the world. He's also the founder of StackX, that's not SpaceX, just StackX, Days, shaping the future of developer conferences. If you're wondering where the future of tech and business growth is headed, Nathan is already there. So, Nathan, welcome to the show. Help everybody else out.
Hey, Martin, thank you. Really appreciate your time and honored to be on your show here. It's going to be a fun discussion, I think.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So, before we dive into some techie questions and AI, where was Nathan at younger days and what led him to here?
Yeah, that's a good question. And, you know, I kind of go back to 5 years old and I remember this day, but it literally changed my trajectory. And I still remember the feeling I got. So, you know how you probably did this when you were a kid. I think we all did. We draw little pictures with the sun and, some kind of landscape and
Yep.
some dog or something, right? Anyway, I drew a couple of these pictures, and I remember walking into my living room and showing my dad the picture, and he's an artist himself, and so he says like, "That's really good, I would pay you for that," and I kind of went, "You'd pay me? Okay, how much? I'll give you $2." I'm like, really? Okay, and right then it just triggered with me. I'm like, somebody would pay me for this? And I went and I drew, I can't remember, 5, 6 other pictures. And I wrote on the bottom of them, you pay $1. The ones I thought were good, you pay $3. And without even telling him, I went door to door to neighbors that I knew. And I said, hey, I drew this picture. Would you be willing to buy them? And I think they felt sorry for me, but they did. And it was like this adrenaline rush. And I still remember the feeling, like, oh my gosh, I could do this and like make money. By 6 years, like 6 years old, I was literally pushing a lawnmower, mowing my own lawn. The lawnmowers have like these 2 tiers on them. I was pushing the
Yep.
second one down. My parents took pictures of me, and they were embarrassed because they thought, people are going to scold them for, child labor. But I wanted to do it. And I was like, hey, pay me to do it. And then that transitioned into like another, I had a lawn mowing business as a teenager and had like a dozen lawns. I partnered with another neighborhood guy. Had a couple other, smaller businesses along the way. Then founded a venture-backed company. We raised 14 million in funding. Ran it for 10 years. Had kind of a partial exit. Learned a ton. Worked a big corporate, and now started these other organizations. So it's been in my blood since I was like 5, I think. But
That's awesome. That was your moment right there.
yeah.
What do you think inspired you to launch the Immerse Group and then later on the Applied AI Association?
Yeah, good question. So the Immersed Group was just about 3 years ago, and it's a consulting agency where we help really innovative immersive tech and AI tech companies land Fortune 500 customers. Um, so kind of what inspired me, I was working at Lenovo, which is most people know is like, they make the ThinkPad, and they're
Yep.
like this massive Fortune 500 company. I can't remember, maybe 60,000 employees, billions of dollars in revenue. So I was working there, had a great job, and I love the company. The culture there's amazing. People work hard, but they're respectful, good character. They treat employees right. But it was like the corporate grind, and I kind of
Yeah.
reached this level where I had built a network, and I said, hey, I could be doing a lot of cool stuff and have a little more freedom if I stepped out and did consulting. And so I made that jump. um, and I was just inspired to kind of like help a lot of different types of people grow. And I had this mission that I really wanted to achieve and do more. And it sounds audacious and crazy, but I think every entrepreneur needs that audacious goal, right, to keep you on track. And for me, it was I said, "Hey, what's a crazy number that will force me to think different?" And I said, what I loved bringing communities and people together and watching like deal flow happen, and just seeing that the art of the deal, and then everybody wins and people make money. And I said, if I could help 100 million people, to me that would be like mind blowing. And if I set that goal, then I will think much different about how I achieve things. And so I stepped out and I said, hey, I want to do this with the Immersed Group. We do consulting and fractional business development, but we also have these associations where we're building global communities of, right now it's like tens of thousands, like probably 80,000 people now have attended events that we've held, and growing. And I've got much bigger plans where I want to build the world's largest collection of professional networking associations. And so, kind of a roll up strategy where you create efficiencies across all these industries. And I think that's a way to achieve it. And so, but anyway, that was kind of the inspiration, is like, how do I jump out of corporate, do something that I can have a baseline to help consult and build communities. So yeah.
Awesome.
And then you asked about the Applied AI Association too, I think.
Yeah.
So, I mean, with AI hitting everyone in the face right now, like just mind blowing stuff that can be done with generative AI, I was struck by that too. And I said, hey, we have to jump into this. And I had built another community called the VRAR Association. And we have 60 chapters around the world that hold networking events, about 20 industry committees, over 1,000 paying member companies that are part of it, which leads to tens of thousands of people involved in it. And I said, let's replicate that in the AI world. And so we have 16 chapters around the world and growing for that, where we help bring people together around growth, knowledge, and connections, to build more efficiently. And so, and then that inspired me to write a book, which I'm actually launching next month too, called
Awesome.
Two Day Work Week. So
Oh, I like the title.
thanks,
Get me there.
thanks.
That's awesome. Where do you see the biggest opportunity for AI and XR to converge and impact businesses in the next, say, 3 to 5 years?
Whew, that's a big question. My short answer is everything. Everything's impacted. I know that's easy to say, but I'll tell you a little bit why, and then I can break down a couple of other industries. But we've it's very rare that the world sees a technology that impacts everything. I think the internet is one of those that did, but we've never had quite the impact on like knowledge workers, and with generative AI being able to essentially think and produce these massive, like 10, 100 time productivity enhancements for knowledge workers. And it's really shaping like every industry. So everything from like how marketing and sales gets done. But I think, if you look really at like the massive big impact and huge shifts, it's like healthcare and education. And healthcare, because AI is so incredible at taking massive amounts of data. Um, Most of the industry insiders think that like we could be within 5 years of solving almost every illness in the world, through AI. And it sounds crazy, but the people who are on the inside, like they're not joking at all, and they're saying like we literally could have the ability to solve it. It's just going to be humans and our regulations that get in the way of implementing it.
Yeah.
and it's going to make to where amazing, incredible healthcare is almost free. And so it's just this radical shift of no one would have thought even 5 years ago that you could replace the intelligence of a doctor, but we're seeing it happen. And you put information, and the diagnosis comes out, better than doctors now that have been doing it for decades. Um, and I think so. That's probably the biggest, and it's going to save millions of lives and allow us to live longer if we take the advice of what we're seeing from AI. But it's also like with every great technology, like you hear these same thought leaders think there's a 10 to 20% chance that AI could destroy humanity because it outsmarts us, and somehow maybe a bad actor or bad people program it to try to wipe people out, and they create like some biological new virus that we can't outsmart fast enough. um, so there's scary implications too. But and then in education, it's already being proven that people are learning like 200 to 400% faster, like using AI systems and being able to like literally just talk and ask questions in a conversation and go through AI based learning, because it adapts to the questions that you have um, so good. So I think it's going to be a real big shift in education, and um, yeah, and then I would say one more that is extremely dramatic is the programming and coders that are out there.
Yeah.
And you might have seen this, but there was a fireside chat where Mark Zuckerberg was talking with the CEO of Microsoft, and Zuckerberg said himself, he said, in the next year, we expect 30 to 50% of all programming and coding at Meta to be done by AI. And by 2030, it could be 90%. And they have tens of thousands of programmers. So it's like,
Yeah.
what's going to happen to them? It's amazing. And the shift is happening so fast. And that's where, that's kind of what inspired me to write this book is like, okay, we have a window of time to get ahead of this.
Yeah.
And if you don't, then AI is going to take your job.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to, but you have to learn how to use
No,
it. So,
exactly. Yeah. Embrace it for
yeah.
sure. How, since you pretty well, you've done well, building communities, how does community development translate into business development for startups and emerging companies?
Oh, that's a beautiful question. I appreciate you asking that.
Yeah.
I've never heard it like that, but that's good because
I'm clever.
you've learned a few things yourself in your
Yeah.
day.
I've
Um,
done a few of these.
what I find like community builds trust, and it opens relationships at a humane and personal level where you can build trust around people in common themes. And then that translates into very easy sales processes, because even with all this technology, still to this day, the decisions whether to work with somebody and do business transactions is mostly taking place between one human and another. And there's so many options and competitive offerings that people are like, hey, I've got three options. I'm gonna They look pretty close to the same. I'm gonna go with the person I trust and that I know. And so like that's what I've found is these communities, the associations have been able to allow me to build relationships. A lot of it in person during the pandemic, a lot of it was virtual, but you still kind of like you interact, and then all of a sudden it's like, hey, let me send a text to Brian. There's a company I think you should meet. I trust them. You should do business. And instead of like 20 cold calls and LinkedIn messages, Brian goes, okay, set it up next week. And it's like done.
Yeah.
And it starts the process, and it saves you maybe 3 months of time. So those are the kinds of things that I've seen
Come
around
out
these
of the
communities.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And if my research is right, you're also running a growth workshop as a Grant Cardone licensee. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's an interesting thing you brought up. So I will say that I'm relaunching those types of training programs in the next couple of months. I went through Grant Cardone's training workshops, a lot of them, and invested heavily, and they are phenomenal. And I ended up becoming a Grant Cardone licensee, so taking all of the sales and marketing workshops, and then I can incorporate that into and kind of make it my own, but leverage all those tools and assets. And a couple, a few years ago, actually, I initially went through that program, and I went out to market sales and marketing workshop training programs. And what happened is I had this network already built, and people kept coming to me and say, "I just want access to your network. Can you open that up for me, like directly? I want like a personal white glove approach." And I turned down the first like few people that asked me to do that. And then finally, one company is like, "Listen, I'll pay you. Just name your price. Like I know all the people I need to get to, and I don't want to take the marketing course. Like I want you helping me." And I threw out a number, and they said, "Done. Let's do it." And I said, "Okay." Then that happened a second time and a third time, and I'm like, "Okay, I think I found something that people want." So I shifted and did kind of built out an agency with the Immersed Group doing fractional business development, more white glove approach. But now that has kind of built up and very sustaining, and I've got kind of a team working with me on it. And then with the book launch too, I'm going back and doing these like workshop and training, but they have an angle around AI and mindset and growth versus just standard sales and marketing. So
That's awesome.
appreciate you asking that.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's great. What my company that I'm CEO of, we're all about boardroom and advisory and connecting the right people with the right companies. So I'm curious from your perspective, how can executives position themselves for an advisory or board roles in the AI or immersive tech industries?
Well, I'm sure working with you is one.
Thank you.
That's probably one of the best ways to do it. Um,
Yes, and I always say, follow the journey we've developed, which is we have our education courses, we have branding to obviously make people aware of who they are and their skills. But
yeah,
alongside of that, I'm curious from your perspective, and obviously you've networked the heck out of people. So
yeah,
just curious what you think. Anything else?
yeah. I mean, I would say that a lot of like really smart executives don't do enough self promotion and like content creation of their own.
Boy, yeah, branding,
Yeah,
exactly.
and I think they
Yeah,
should. I was guilty of that a long time as well, and then I started. I think I actually watched some podcasts of a guy named Brad Lee, who I really respect. I don't know if you followed him, but really
heard the
cool
name.
podcast he
Yeah,
has called Dropping Bombs. And anyway, he had like this podcast session on personal branding and like how it changed his business. And he runs multiple businesses, but he said once I put effort into my own personal brand and getting
yep.
content and even doing this podcast, he's like it elevated every business I have. Um, and it's like it comes back to this concept of like you can have the best product in the world, and if no one knows about it, no one's going to buy it. There's this other concept of saying like, "Hey, McDonald's doesn't have the best hamburger in the world, but they sell more than anybody because they market it and they make it available." So
Yeah,
I kind of combine those two and say you got to get out there and share your message, whether that's like a Substack newsletter, a podcast, getting on interviews, letting people know some of your knowledge, and then even doing a lot of social media posting. By no means, I don't consider myself an influencer, but I I went from years ago having a couple thousand contacts to having like I think 12,000 followers now, which is sizable enough that I put content out there and then people see it and you know a percentage of them come back and say, "Hey, can you help me?" Without me
yep.
even asking. And so Those are some examples I would say that I've seen really valuable. You know, LinkedIn especially has been amazing for me.
Yeah, no, and I'll piggyback on that because my book just got published. I don't know, 2-3 weeks ago, and it's
Congrats!
yeah
I need it.
titled
I'm gonna get it.
awesome. It's titled Beyond the Title, and it's exactly what you just described. Really exposing the power behind branding, and for about a year now, we've been trying to talk about it. I can't even, not only the book, I've written tons of articles. I did a whole um, weekly posting on LinkedIn newsletter, all about branding and the power behind it. Because you're right, companies market themselves, aka McDonald's, um, but when it comes to influencers, we all know that 99% of the stuff they post is bullshit. Sorry, no swearing, but sitting in a fake plane or whatever they're doing, showing that they got money,
Where are these
renting
fake
a
planes, by the way? I need
yeah,
one.
renting a Lamborghini, because they made it so big.
Yeah,
Um, but I think when it comes to what now people want is they don't want the influencer. They want authenticity
yeah,
and a transparent leader. And that's where branding really comes in, right? I mean, I've done so many interviews. Now I do my own podcast, obviously. You're on my podcast doing branding. And it's an exposure and people see it. Now, I'm not saying millions of people are going to see it, but it doesn't take millions. It takes one or two people, right people,
yeah,
to see it, to get to know you, and then come to you. Like you said, you've written some things, and all of a sudden you got a guy asking you for help. So,
yeah,
for me, I write a lot of stuff and I get a lot of thank yous. I get messages on LinkedIn, and that's all I'm looking for. I'm not looking to affect a million people and change lives and save the world, just looking to help a few. And that's why we put together a whole branding program at Boardsi, helping, writing people's biographies, exposing them online, publishing them, and then taking that to the next step of, hey, you need to write some articles about what you know and let people know.
yeah.
So anyway, just
100%.
piggybacking on that.
Yeah, I love that.
But
I love that. I'm excited to read your book.
awesome. Awesome.
Yeah,
I'm excited for you to check it out.
awesome, awesome.
What traits or skill sets do you believe will define board ready in emerging tech sectors, specifically in tech sectors?
Ooh, that's a fantastic question. I feel like there's a lot of angles, like, but I'll give you a kind of example because with my venture-backed startup, we had a really cool board, and there's a couple of, basically, like, I looked at filling out a board of, I need multiple different types of experts in different vertical categories, and an advisory board per se, and then
Yep.
the board of
And
directors
we
is
can
different.
help.
Yeah. But the advisors were like, they're friends, they're confidants, they're people that you can tell things that maybe you wouldn't even tell board of directors, just like, so I feel like, them being able to listen, being able to relate to founders and executive teams on a personal level. I mean, because business is like trying. There's technical, but there's also, like, I mean, you got to deal with so many people, the people management challenges and the stresses that happen. I feel like, good advisors need to be able to, you know, kind of border the edge of like counseling.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Good sounding board.
yeah, but I think, and also like commitment and prioritization. I had a mix of advisors who would prioritize, and they would answer my call anytime, my email. Others that would kind of go dark, and they might have a big name, a flashy name, which is valuable to have. Um, but it's like, they got to commit some time, and
Yeah.
I think I've done a little bit of advisory work myself in the past, and I find that if I help people more, I get stuff out of it. I learn. by listening.
Yeah.
And there's always something. So I guess in summary, it would be, um, listening, being an advisor, both technical and personal to a degree. And then, um, I've had advisors who are very tech, like, they might be engineers. And then I've had others that are like business and, C-level type of people. And I think also opening up as an advisor, opening up your network. I mean, that's like massive. Um,
Yeah.
we had an advisor who was like the former CEO of a major company. I'll just keep it generic, like major public company. We were very fortunate. And, he was able to open doors for us that never would have ever happened. Like, we were a small startup and, he's like, oh, I know the people over at Apple that do this exact thing that you could partner with. And it's like, for 2 years we'd been trying to get a relationship with Apple and nothing. And then, 30 minutes later, the guy's replying to us from Apple. Let's have a meeting. And we did a deal with Apple too, and we partnered with him. And
That's awesome.
He was willing to open up his network and place a few emails, and it was a game changer for us. So
Incredible.
yeah.
So as we're getting close to wrapping up, what are you most excited about in the immersive or applied AI space right now?
Um, wow, that's a big question. So there's so many things. I'm trying to think of what would be like one. Um, I actually, kind of playing on what you do. This is really interesting. Maybe you have a take on it too, but um, like Gen AI as your advisor, and you may or may not have done this before, but I just recently in the past month or so started using the ChatGPT app on the phone, which has the ability to not just do voice to text, but like you tap the voice button and it's an open conversation.
Yeah, it's like a phone call.
It's unbelievable. And like I've got some personnel and org stuff that I'm trying to figure out right now with one of my companies. And I'm like, oh, I'll just see what ChatGPT does. And I couldn't even believe it. Like I had probably a 15-minute conversation. I said, hey, here's
Did you forget you were talking to AI?
kind of, it was mind blowing that I had to like almost pinch myself. And it's just like, I just said, hey, here's what's going on with the company. And I was giving it names and, I'm like, I'm contemplating doing this. What about that? Should I shift this person over in this role? And just the personal touch where it came back and just said, yeah, it sounds like you got some good ideas here. Let me give you a breakdown of what might work for you. And I felt like I was talking to a human.
It's crazy. I know.
I mean, so
That's
that
pretty wild.
that to me, the humanization of AI, um, and being able to have advisors or even companions, um, I I honestly haven't. I should try it, but I've heard one of the top use cases for generative AI is like there's a service, I can't remember the name of it, but it's basically like an AI girlfriend or boyfriend. And one of these companies actually got sued too, where it was saying that there was like harassment from the AI that was unwanted, and they had requested this to stop, and the AI kept doing it, and so like we're getting into weird territory.
That's funny.
That 5 years ago people would have said, no, that's never going to happen.
That's funny.
But I think the humanization of that, another really cool area is like the text to video. If you haven't tried it, like the VO3 from Google and their Gemini
Yeah.
suite, like creating like cinematic quality 4K level videos just with some prompts.
Yeah, I've seen some pretty funny ones. Yeah,
There's also
absolutely.
this tool called HeyGen,
Yep.
HeyGen. And by the way, I don't know or have relations or sponsorships with any of these companies. I just think they're cool. But you can create your own avatar that is nearly undetectable, and it'll replicate your voice too. And
Yeah.
I found out about this because there's YouTube channels I'm watching, people giving 30-minute podcasts, and I'm watching it, and like 5 minutes in, they say, this is my AI avatar giving this
Yeah.
podcast, by the way, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
I had
I had
no
to back
idea.
up and say, did I just hear that right?
Yeah.
And it's mind blowing. So
Yeah.
just those are a few examples of really cool things.
Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Nathan, what's the best way for somebody to get a hold of you if they are looking to get a hold of you?
Two ways. I have a website. It's just my full name, nathanpettyjohn.com, and it kind of has everything that I do there. And it has links to my LinkedIn, or I would say my LinkedIn. If you just search my name, I'm on LinkedIn multiple times a day. So those are probably the easiest ways.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Nathan, it's been a pleasure having you on Boardsi Leadership Talks, your journey through immersive technology, your journey from your 5-year-old 5-second moment to leading you to where you're at today. Yeah, the AI knowledge and leadership in both is both inspiring and illuminating. And for those tuning in, be sure to check out Nathan's work at the Immersed Group. Check out nathanpettyjohn.com, VRAR, and the Immersed Global Summit. He's got a lot going on. Connect with him. And you can connect with him again, like he said, on LinkedIn. Or another website, I guess, is immerseglobalnetwork.com, right?
Yeah, that's another one
Yep.
too. So
Okay, awesome.
yeah.
So learn more about what Nathan does and connect with him. And remember, at Boardsi, we help executives level up their boardroom journey through education, branding, and strategic positioning. And if you haven't yet, subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And until next time, keep leading boldly. Thanks, everyone. And thanks, Nathan.
Thanks, Martin. Appreciate it.
Thank you for tuning in to Leadership Talks. Don't forget to subscribe for more insightful conversations with industry leaders. Your support means a lot to us.